A while back, AKAI released the APC64 as one of the main competitors for the Ableton Push 3. It's packed with loads of features and it's only a fraction of the price of the Ableton Push 3. So let's first get an overview of the layout of everything and the main features of the APC64. You have your main navigation buttons down here where you can scroll around in session view, also go up and down octaves in note mode. We have a little screen down here, which is actually quite helpful. There's not much information it can give you, but what it does give you is very useful. One thing that really annoys me about the Launchpad and AKAI controllers is trying to configure it right out the bat. Now, if I press down on note mode and press it again, it goes into the configuration mode, which if you're using this for the first time will look like a game of Tetris to you. I have no idea what any of this means, so I have to dig out the manual. Not really that intuitive. So already, yeah, I'm not enjoying it. I am not a fan of these touch strips, and playing with them and investigating them further, they are quite touch sensitive. I like to turn dials quite quickly in a live situation, and this for me feels a bit, it doesn't have the same feel as a dial. Yeah, if we go into live and I put it to volumes, you see they're very sensitive. But if you hold shift, you can turn that sensitivity down. I feel like I have the same control as your usual dial. Another strange thing about this controller, if you have some tracks with devices on and they're armed, ready to rock and roll, and you press play, you're gonna start hearing all these crazy sounds. And for me, starting out, I had no idea where this sound was coming from. I could see MIDI was coming in, but this is in the step sequencer here. So the default patch comes with some preloaded patterns in the sequencer. Now, it wasn't clear to me straight out how you clear them and what channels they're on. What I found out is basically now you're in the step sequencer mode. These buttons here no longer select the tracks in Ableton Live. They simply select the different sequences that you have. So you have 8 sequences, which is pretty impressive. Now, all you need to do is press clear on these sequences, and that will clear all the information. Then if you hold shift here and press save, it will then save the deleted notes. Just something to be aware of. Again, that is something like straight off the bat, if you're not clued up on these controllers and didn't really know about the step sequencer, that can leave you very puzzled for a long time, which is something to be aware of. Another thing to note with this controller is that there is no way to load or change devices or instruments or MIDI effects in Ableton Live. This is meant to be a companion to Ableton Live. This is not meant to do a push 3 thing or push 2 thing and completely take you away from the computer. You will need access to the computer to load all those things. So it's something to bear in mind. Now, another super annoying thing with this controller, which I think is really annoying, is if I press the record button again, it will just re-record over that clip. It won't go into MIDI overdub automatically. To do that, you have to hold down shift. That for me is a massive no-no. That should automatically go into MIDI overdub. Having to put that down is something that if I was to use this in a live performance, I would definitely mess up. I must say as well, having the play, record and stop up there, I find a bit clunky as well. Why is it not like down here or down there like the push? You could have it just underneath there. That makes complete sense to me. Why is the main kind of navigation buttons right at the top? It feels a bit out of the way. Don't like that at all. Okay, let's go and check out this chord mode now. So this is something some push users have been calling for a long time. This is the ability to automatically harmonize each note with all the notes from the chords within a chosen key. I'm going to hold this down here and then I can choose my chord type. So here I have 1, 3, 5. If I slow go here, I got 1, 3, 5, 7. 1, 3, 5, 6, 1, 3, 5, 9. Let's try that. Then I'm going to record the track it's on. So let's go fixed length. I'm going to put this to 2 bars and yeah, press record. Not a really big fan of it, if I'm honest. There's not many options for chord types. You've got a few down here, but not really that many. I feel if you invested a little bit of time in learning the shapes in note mode, you could get something that sounds a lot better very quickly. Now the step sequencer is pretty much the same as drum mode on the Push 3. You have this grid at the top here and you have some pads down here that deal with velocity. They either deal with probability or they mutate it up octaves. You have the ability to have this quarter as musical notes, or drum pads. Now, having it as a separate button here doesn't make sense to me. It feels like it should be a part of the drum mode anyway, just like on the push 2 and 3's workflow. Also, like I say, when you turn it on, it's very clunky. It has all these pre-made patterns coming out. Not very good, really. I think the AKAI APC grid controller is fantastic for anyone that's on a budget and is looking for portability. The bad thing with the push 3 standalone, it's very heavy and it's very big. This can fit in your bag. Push 3s and push 2s are a bit big and sometimes they're a little bit hard to transport around. Price is very competitive. It's around about £250. It's a fraction of the cost of the push 3 controller, and it's even smaller of a cost of the push 3 standalone. However, I find this controller very unintuitive and very clunky. Like I say, I'm not a fan of these touch strip controllers. I find them a bit too sensitive, and I find myself as I'm going through knocking things and not even realizing I've turned it, and then everything sounds a bit strange in Ableton Live. So if you're looking for a portable, lightweight grid controller for Ableton Live, just a little bit of note mode use, a little bit of drum mode, maybe use chord mode to help you with your harmony, this would be a good choice. Now, I would personally check the secondhand market for the Push 2. You can pick a Push 2 up for relatively the same price as this, which I think is much better than this controller. So leave some comments in below if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you like these touch strips or you don't like them. Also, if you like me, if you think the buttons are laid out a bit in weird places and the workflow is a bit clunky, I'd love to know what you think.